Sheer grunt. I've never driven anything with so much torque in my life.
This is a Bill Thomas Cheetah. We spent 3 years building it from little more than a rusty old shell and a box of bits. And here we are now on our second test day.
They were stopped from racing by the change of homologation rules back in 64, 65, and that's when the story ended, or perhaps maybe the story began, because that's when they became legends. One driver, I believe it's Jerry Titus, drove a Cheetah at 220 miles an hour down the main straight in Daytona and said it started to get light at 180, yet he still went through that to get up to 220. So they are relatively untested, to be honest. You know, we don't know what it can do. You know, we've bought this car and we've rebuilt this car, and we're having to rediscover what it can do. It was being looked after by a few guys that my mate knew. They went and collected it, drove it back up to upstate, and then just shipped it over to Felixstowe. At that point, I hadn't fully appreciated what I had let myself in for.
When the car turned up to us, it was basically a chassis frame, some bits of suspension and a set of bodywork moulds.
The importance of getting every detail correct as it was in period was paramount. So a lot of historical research went into this car, finding old photographs, magazine articles, newspaper articles, old race reports, so that we could build it as accurately as possible. In order to race one today in historics, we have to be as accurate as possible to the original Cheetah design. With a 5.4 litre engine, it's very difficult to keep it quiet. So even with silencers on today, we're putting out 111 decibels.
My role today is to make sure it doesn't kill Mr. Burford.
Being that it's such a rare car, none of us here have ever driven one before. So, you know, we have to familiarise ourselves with what the car's actually going to do. You have to start increasing the speed slowly, see what it's going to do in the corners, see how the brakes are going to behave, see if the engine's going to get hot, you know, and just feel your way. You can't really show up to a race with a car like this if you haven't shaken it down. I mean, it's just dangerous.
One of the iconic things about a Cheetah is that the engine attached to the gearbox is attached to the diff. So you are sitting very close to all of the whirring parts. It's a very mechanical experience.
It's been a long time coming, so it feels really good to see it going round.
3 years of emotional roller coaster.
I just love the thing to pieces. Obviously I've become quite attached to it over the last 2.5 or so years putting it together. And there's sort of, I suppose it's a bit of my life, you know.
Wow, what a car. I mean, I'm sold.
There's a piece of all of us in this car, so it means a lot for us to actually have it out and start campaigning it.
We're here today really to make sure that everything's working, everything points in the right direction, and everything is ready for the next step, where we are testing at Goodwood in readiness for the members meeting this year in March.